Hello, everyone. It's Election Day in the United States. I'm Cody Combs, social media journalist for the National Reporting from Washington, D.C. I'm joined by our reporters Willy Lowry in the battleground state of Michigan and James Reinl in the battleground state of Florida. We'll hear from them in just a moment. But first and foremost, worth noting, because of COVID-19, there have already been more than 100 million votes cast throughout the United States. Nonetheless, it is Election Day, and there will be plenty more cast throughout the day. That's why we're here to break down the analysis and eventually break down the results once they come in. First off, we'll go to my colleague Willy Lowry in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. Detroit, Michigan, actually I should say Michigan overall, surprised people in 2016 when Donald Trump managed to win it. It is a state that he would like to keep. However, because of COVID-19, it's been a very polarizing state, a lot of mixed feelings about the governor there. Some people supporting her, some people not so much because of the COVID-19 restrictions she put in place. Willy, what's going on in the ground right now?
Absolutely, Cody. You know, the last few weeks here in Michigan have been what could only be described as fraught. Governor Gretchen Whitmer has implemented a series of pretty strict lockdown measures really since April, and that's had a backlash effect. You know, the FBI just a few weeks ago broke up a pretty complex and sophisticated plot to kidnap the governor, something that really is almost unheard of here. And there has been a whole kind of wave of far-right elements that have really been kind of showing their face, and that's caused a lot of people to be quite concerned. Michigan is an open carry state, and the Secretary of State here in Michigan was trying to prevent people from being allowed to carry their weapons to polling stations. She lost that case, that court case. So there's a lot of concern about voter intimidation as well as people hit the polls here today.
And Willy, we should point out there is a heavy concentration of Arab Americans in Michigan, in Dearborn. They are a small percentage of the population of Michigan, but the heavy concentration there, and because Donald Trump only won by 10,000 votes last time around, they could play a huge role. What are you seeing?
Cody, they absolutely could. They actually make up about 5% of the electorate here in Michigan, a huge percentage compared to the rest of the country. And historically, they are a pretty democratic voting group. And a recent poll by the Arab American Institute based out of Washington suggests that they're going to vote for Biden again. Probably around 58% will go for the president, but they are out in huge numbers. Just yesterday, there was a line wrapping all the way around Dearborn City Hall. You know, they want to have their voices heard. They think that they're an important voting bloc, and both parties, particularly the Democrats, are doing their best to get them in play. Vice President Joe Biden actually created a platform for Arab Americans, the first time any candidate has done so in history.
All right, Willy, thanks very much. We're going to go now to where it's a little bit warmer. That in the battleground state of Florida, that's where you'll find our reporter James Reinl. Florida, once again, in the mix. It's a must-win for Trump, for the most part, we should say. Biden would like to have it. What's going on the ground right now in Florida?
Well, Floridians have been voting now for 2 hours and 6 minutes since the polls opened. They've come out. It's you say it's warm down in Florida. It's actually a really windy day. Tropical storms blowing outside, palm trees swaying. As voters were going to the polls, we were getting the latest opinion polls that were taken over previous days, and they suggested that what was already a close race is closer still. The two candidates, President Donald Trump and Vice President Joe Biden, are neck and neck. 47.9% for Biden, 47% for Trump. That's a 0.9 percentage point difference. And with the error of margin, that means that Florida could easily go either way today.
And I should ask this follow-up question. Are we going to know early in the night which way Florida goes, or are we going to have to wait for a long period of time, do you think?
That's interesting. Don't forget that today is Election Day, November 3rd, but in Florida and across much else of the US, most of the people who are going to vote have already voted. It's 90 million voters across the US have already voted, and the numbers are proportionate. 9 million Floridians have cast their ballots in early voting. And so in Florida, those votes are already being counted. That isn't true in Pennsylvania and some other states, but in Florida, they are being counted. So as soon as the polls close at 7 p.m. today, that's when we should be getting our first indications of what those early vote tallies are. And they'll break between 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock today. And then we're going to have a steer as to in which direction Florida is going to go. You mentioned at the beginning that Florida is an important state, a battleground state. It's worth 29 votes in the Electoral College. By most of the analysis, Donald Trump needs to win Florida if he's going to keep the White House for another 4 years. I'll add one more thing. 9 million Floridians have voted. A lot of these people are registered voters, and there were more registered Democrats taking part in early voting than registered Republicans. And that's an indication that perhaps the early voting tallies are going to favor Joe Biden, and that at the start of polling today, Donald Trump is already playing catch up in Florida.
And we're going to wrap it up soon. But Willie, I do want to come back to you briefly and look at Michigan. Both Donald Trump and Joe Biden spent a lot of their last campaigning days there. What's the vibe on the ground right now? Do you think Donald Trump's going to be able to hold on to this, or do you think it's slipping away?
Well, Cody, he certainly wants to hold on to it. You know, just in the last few days, he made 3 stops here. He essentially closed his campaign in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which he did in 2016 as well. He really hopes that's his good luck charm. I was at a rally just a few days ago outside of Detroit, and there was definitely a big presence, but all of the major polls are showing that he's trailing, and not just trailing, he's trailing by 6, 7, 8, 9 points, which is a pretty significant number. And the Democrats are smelling blood. Kamala Harris, the vice president, candidate, of course, will be in Detroit trying to shore up the vote for the Biden campaign.
And gentlemen, I should make some news right now, but it's really not going to be news when I explain it. I'm in Washington, D.C., and I am 99% sure that Washington, D.C.'s 3 electoral votes will go to Joe Biden, as that has been the case for many, many years. This is a heavily, heavily Democratic town. That being said, it is only 3 electoral votes. Both candidates need 270, and that's what we'll be taking a closer look at tonight. Once those polls close, we should point out people are still voting, and they will still be voting for many hours. And we'll regroup. We'll look at the exit polls. We'll also look at the vote count, because this could be a very long night. This could be a very long series of a few days. But we have you on the ground in Florida, James. We have you on the ground in Michigan. We're really excited about all of our analysis that's going to come together, and we'll keep you posted, all of you out there watching and waiting to see who will be the next president of the United States. You can follow our live blog at thenationalnews.com. For now, reporting live from Washington, D.C., I'm Cody Combs.